Here we are, another Friday class with the Soul Path Wisdom community. And this is the astrology for November 2025. And I wanted you to just take a moment to look at this image that I found for November. Now, just seeking in the website that I use to get my, different images and pictures. And this is in Thailand, I'm going to call it Loy Krathong Festival. I'm sure I'm messing up that pronunciation. Takes place on the full moon of the 12th month in the lunar calendar. So that makes it in November. And I just loved the level of lights, all these lights, and the way that they're shimmering and shining down into the water. And I feel like that is part of what we're all working on right now is to connect to our light and shine it into the earth, shine it into the water, shine it into the earth. And so we will begin to talk about this month. And here's our ephemeris. And if you look here on the left side of the major shifts in November, there's something like every second day, pretty much, from the beginning of the month until the end. This is a little on the rare side to have so much movement. But what that means for us individually is that our attention is going to be drawn into new frequencies, into new ways of looking at things. And I want you to take a moment to think about transits in general and the deeper understanding of transits, where we look at where our natal planet is, the sign in the house it's in, and know that we're always seeking to grow and evolve that planet, operating in the way of its sign and tending to have a lot of emphasis in the house that it's in that those areas of life. And then, of course, if the planet has aspects to other planets and there's a pattern, it will also be affecting the planets that it's in aspect to. And especially when it's a more outer planet than the planet that it's in aspect to, it will seem to have a stronger effect in my experience. Like, Pluto moon, although maybe the moon is, as they say, lunarizing Pluto a little bit, mostly Pluto is, Plutonizing the moon, and you feel that intensity and power and transformation in all things emotional, psychological. So when we have a month like this where we have a lot of changes, let's just start here. November 4th, Mars moves into the sign of Sagittarius. Well, first, that's going to mean that it's crossing the anaretic degree of 29 degrees Scorpio. If you've been tracking for the last week or so, Mercury and Mars have been moving really close together in Scorpio. I have heard from different stories as I talk to clients all day about, uh, you know, difficult verbal experiences that they have been having and the the process of what to do about it, what to say, how deep to go, whether to split or end things. And Mars coming into Sagittarius changes the flavor through which Mars works. Now, Mars in Scorpio, as you probably know, Mars is the original ruler of Scorpio, traditional. And so Mars is considered powerful, potent in the sign of Scorpio. But it's also very intense. Mars is the planet that represents will, desire, action, and initiation. If you think again, think to your own Mars, where it is, what sign it's in. So, will, desire, and action in a way that is, and then operating in this house. Then you think, okay, November 4th, Mars, having been in Scorpio for a couple of months, stays almost 2 months in a sign. It's been in Scorpio. Wherever Scorpio is in your chart, this is where you've been feeling more like, I need what I need. I want what I want. I want to go for it. And yet I have to do it in a way that's deep, intense, psychologically aware. It's not as fast and as tense as Mars in Aries, where I just I want what I want, I go for it, get out of my way. It's a little bit more strategic when Mars is in Scorpio. And then we can also think about the house that it's in for you. And then it goes into Sagittarius. That may correspond with moving to a different house. If you use whole sign houses, of course it does. But for most of us using Placidus or other of the quadrant houses, we will have it changing signs still in a particular area of life, but the flavor is different. Now Mars can move forward with more fire. Sagittarius, optimism, hope, hopefulness. Sometimes Mars and Sagittarius runs into snags because my belief system isn't where it needs to be to do what I need to do. So this will be the first, major planetary change as we go into the month. The first of the month is tomorrow, Saturday. Then we have a full moon, and that is on the 5th, which is Wednesday. And we'll talk about the full moon, of course, it's in Taurus. I'm going to go into depth with that. Now, just after that full moon, Venus, which rules Taurus, secondary ruler, goes into Scorpio. So this tells us that Venus has been in Libra for about a month. Venus in its own sign, balanced, harmonious, peaceful, in the way that it seeks relationship and resources. Now Venus goes into Scorpio with depth and intensity. So it's like Mars and Venus are kind of changing their alignment. They're, one like passing a baton in a relay race. So now Venus will be in Scorpio. On the 7th, Uranus, which has been in Taurus for about 7 years and edged into Gemini for the last few months, in its retrograde motion is going back into Taurus and finishing up its little Taurus spree until the spring next year. So just like we've been doing some finishing with Neptune and Saturn coming back into Pisces, we now are going to have Uranus, the planet of awakening and change, coming into Taurus, reminding us of everything about money, security, grounding, the earth, climate change, our physical bodies, what it takes to be secure, waking us up to how can we create a more secure experience on planet Earth, which is Taurian in nature. And so we'll have that review time to work with. And if that's not enough review, we are going to have a Mercury retrograde to work with. And when Mercury goes retrograde, it will be at just about 7 degrees of Sagittarius. And then it'll go back into Scorpio. Okay, so there's your Scorpio again, back into Scorpio before it goes direct, which will be the 29th. So the months will kind of encapsulate the Mercury retrograde review. Sagittarius, belief, truth, meaning of life. Remember, Mars is in Sagittarius. And Scorpio, we're dealing with that a lot. Depth, intensity, psychological healing, you know, bringing secrets and corruption to the surface for us to evaluate and maybe do something about. And and then we will have let's see now, making sure I don't miss something. Jupiter goes retrograde on the 11th. Let me just double check that. Absolutely. And here it is. It is at 25 degrees of Cancer. So it's moved really quickly. It moved into the sign of Cancer in early June, and it's gone all the way up to 25 degrees, and it's going to go back for several months and recover territory. So that is drawing us to what are our beliefs, what are our philosophies, how do we want to build our own personal world and the world at large in alignment with truth for us. And the kind of energy we're working with is Cancerian energy, family, home, nurturing, emotional security, food, This will be a review on what is needed, what kind of world are we building that gives us a sense of unconditional love, home, and family. Then on the 18th, Mercury, again going retrograde, goes into Scorpio. That's when it goes. And shortly after, we have a new moon in Scorpio that's going to be conjunct Mercury. We'll see that in a moment when we look at the chart. So again, more Scorpio. What truth is exposed? What lies are coming up? And lies, lies and untruth. I know when I say that, we think about all the things that are going on in the world and the seeking of, where's the Epstein files, if there is even such a thing. Uh, what is the underlying motivations going on in various sectors? But sometimes we have to look at truth for ourselves. And are we telling ourselves the truth? Do we know what the truth is? How has our mind kind of shaded us from remembering everything? So there's a lot of overall this energy. You can see the themes of the depth and intensity of Scorpio. And yes, we're starting to move into Sag season. And, three planets are moving into Sagittarius where we're seeking this bigger meaning of life. And meanwhile, Jupiter, the Sagittarius planet, takes us into a review time as well. So it's time to check your motivations, your beliefs, what's true for you, what's motivating you, and that will allow you to move things forward in alignment with yourself at the next level. Um, so Sun in Sagittarius, that's the 21st. Saturn direct on the 27th. Uh, that'll be nice. The outer planets are pretty much all retrograde through the summer. And we just had Pluto last month go direct. Now Saturn going direct, putting your plans in place, structuring and restructuring what you wish to work with in alignment with your highest soul level goals. This will be important. And I know, people are working with Saturn return energy. People with Saturn in Pisces are finishing their Saturn return. People with Saturn in Aries are just starting a Saturn return process. So Saturn direct will allow you to start to move your plans forward based on the level of review, letting go, and hard work you've been doing on, if we're talking Saturn return related to your Saturn, but wherever Saturn is in your chart right now by transit, you have been in a review period, and by the beginning of December you can start edging some things forward. The Mercury direct, as I said, the 29th of November, and then Venus finally into Sagittarius at the very end of the month. So overall, that is a lot of planetary change. I want to say kind of hold on to your hats and allow yourself to process new ideas, new agendas, and ways of thinking that will support the evolution, your life, in related to your chart. Now, here's the full moon. It's 8:20 a.m. East Coast time on November 5th, about 13 and a half degrees of Taurus. And interestingly, there's not a lot of other planetary activity connected to this full moon. Now, a full moon asks us to stop, take stock, see where we have completed things or where we have come to a level of culmination where we have moved something forward and we need to just stop and assess where we are before we begin the next level of movement forward. I like to think of the sun as pointing out a deeper direction to go. So the sun in Scorpio takes us into depth, investigation, exploration, our deep psychic abilities, shamanic abilities, psychology, where we have wounding that needs to be healed at deep levels. Wherever Scorpio is in your chart, you usually need some kind of help to process it. Psychotherapy and deeper forms of healing. We don't get through scorpionic issues just by, a couple of positive thoughts and a little manifestation ritual. We usually have to dig in. It can be painful to explore the scorpionic area of our life. And yet, as we do, and we work through our fears and the emotional energies that hold us back, we step into true power. We step into the ability to be honest, to have integrity, to know who we are as a soul, and to operate from that place in the world. So think about where this sun in Scorpio is shining the light in an area of your life. And if you have Scorpio planets, they are being impacted. Now, we usually think of mm, an orb of up to 10 degrees with the sun and the moon. So that takes us pretty much to this full moon being in the middle. It's likely to affect you more than some full moons if you have anything in Scorpio, 0 half degree all the way to 29 degrees. I think you'll feel this full moon. Now, the moon itself is in Taurus, and a moon in Taurus likes the physical, sensual, earthly, human aspects of life. The moon in Taurus shines its energy of security, nurturing, care, in a way that's grounded, secure, uh, deep, smooth, content. The moon in Taurus likes to let things go, let things roll over the back, not take things too seriously, while the sun in Scorpio is looking for where the problem is and can complicate things. So you're in this mm, full moon place to cut through, to discern. Now, I know discern is more of a Virgo word, and if we're looking for any connections at all with this full moon, we see that it's in a pretty tight sextile with the nodes. And the discernment of Virgo is analytical. The discernment of Scorpio is psychological and psychic. And both of them will lead you to looking at what you have to let go of right now and what you're focusing on that is absolutely in alignment with your path. The moon in Taurus says, make it easy, let it go, don't make a big deal about things. And the North Node in Pisces, in sextile to it, says, let go and let God. Let go and surrender and trust that there is a meaning to everything that happens in the world, that there is a plan, and that we may not understand the plan, we may not see all of the aspects of it, but sooner or later we have to learn to trust when it doesn't make sense to us or we're more in an overwhelmed place. Uh, the other aspects that we're working with just to see. mm, Venus has been in Libra for almost a month. That has given Venus a fair amount of power to operate in our lives in balance and harmony. We see that the Mercury Mars, which has been traveling in Scorpio for weeks, is now in Sagittarius. So we move from the mind, Mercury, and our mental process and our data analysis operating with Mars to get things done and to think about initiation, move things forward. Together, they have moved from that deep, intense, analytical energy of Scorpio and into Sag, where maybe it's time to take action according to what is true for you. And we have quite a strong opposition here to Uranus at this point at the full moon, still in Gemini. waking us up to information, waking us up to more analysis and synthesis of the data that we have. So wherever this is happening in your chart, you may be looking at new ideas coming up that will launch you in a certain direction. It could be as simple as a conversation you have with somebody. It could be much deeper than that, something that you wish to do for your business, for instance. And this opposition is in a trine sextile with the Saturn Neptune that is, as you can see, back retrograde into the late degrees of Pisces and will be coming forward and ending up back in Aries to launch their synodic cycle. But while they are in this position, connected to this opposition, they are supportive to the new ideas. Neptune is bringing us uh, or showing us the need for compassion, a sense of oneness, the development of our intuition, our creativity, our spirituality, our true spirituality, forgiveness, gratitude. These are all very strong Neptune and Pisces concepts. Saturn asks us to become mature and disciplined in the way we bring these energies into our life. And that may be with this trine to Mercury, Mars, that may be something that you deliberately think about and figure out how you can move this forward in your life in a more aligned way to what is true for you in your life. Um, so again, thinking about a full moon as a time when we complete, and often what we do for our ritual for the full moon is to write a little list of the things that we want to let go of, or one big thing, I release blah, blah, blah. I let go of this, take that piece of paper, burn it in a safe way in your sink or a barbecue or a fireplace, and know that there's something about this Saturn Neptune and the way that it is helping us structure higher level compassionate energy into our worldview. That's going to help with this process of the full moon and releasing whatever it is we are releasing to be more in alignment with our truth and our emerging ideas about what we're here to do. We can see that Pluto is still in Aquarius. It's now direct. It's going to be moving forward over this next year up to about 4 or 5 degrees, I think, this year. It's very strongly in a trine with Uranus, and of course, that comes into the sextile with Saturn, Neptune. This alignment of these four planets is meant to bring progress to our planet. It is meant to be a time period where we evolve, work with new ideas, work with technology, bring compassion in with the Neptune and Pisces, and make it happen. Have all new systems as Saturn and Neptune go into Aries, and we remake things, redo things, start new ways of being together on this planet that is going through so many challenges. And I know many of you are thinking about the comets, the three-eye Atlas comet phenomena that's going on in the sky. I have been just getting into it a little bit, being back in Utah at the conference. I, kind of lost track of watching things in the news so closely. But I do believe that it is positive. I believe that it's kind of like a lifeline being offered to us. I used to do a lot of channeling of extraterrestrial groups, and my immediate sense of it is that there's an extraterrestrial influence there with this comet series happening at this time. Um, and that combined with the fact that Pluto, which in August went out of bounds with declination, and went out of bounds south, which is generally connected to progressive for the people revolutions, versus north, which is more authoritarian revolutions when that happens. Uh, these planetary energies are giving me some hope for our direction, even when the news cycle seems to be, all hope is lost. Now, here's our new moon, and our new moon has a lot of planetary energy connected to it. The new moon happens on November 20th. It is at 1:48 a.m. That's East Coast time, 10:48 p.m. Pacific, the day before on the 19th. And the degrees, as you can see, is about 28:12. So let's just say 28 degrees of Scorpio, almost to the anaretic degree, but not quite. And you can see that Mercury is in its retrograde phase, is very strongly conjunct. This to me suggests something very new coming forward that is transformative and powerful. This could easily be when we start to have some of these secrets or hidden conspiracies come forward in a new way. We have Mars and Sagittarius sandwiching on one side. It's not a close aspect, but you could certainly call this a stellium and count all of this together. So Mars in Sag wants to take action in alignment with truth and beliefs, and Venus in Scorpio, on the other end of the stellium, can be about relationships and women, and scorpionic, wounded, sexual, powerful issues that relate there. And this is set for Washington, D.C., so East Coast time, and that puts this whole stellium in the third house of communication, the news, basically. So I'm thinking this new moon starts something important that we learn about. And you can see that it is in a very tight grand trine with Jupiter in Cancer retrograde. So again, beliefs, philosophies that are nurturing and healing, and we're reviewing what that really means. The Saturn, Neptune, compassion, spirituality, creativity, being grounded, solidified. Right now, this is operating as lies and manipulation and fear generated by those in power. And that's the shadow of Neptune, Saturn. But the higher frequency of it is that we build a new paradigm, new world based on compassion, spirituality, creativity, caring for those who are struggling and suffering. And so this point of the Grand Trine is also connected with the North Node in Pisces, surrender, trust, spirituality, compassion, very strongly the message of the day, message of the year. Now, it's also in a kite formation, so you get two sextiles from these ends, these points of the Grand Trine, and goes to Uranus, radical change and awakening, gone back retrograde into the anaretic degree of Taurus. So there's something happening that is under pressure where there is a shock. Something happens that's very intense. It may shake our sense of security, but ultimately, I would say it's meant to bring us more security. Yeah. And you can see that it is a this sextile. You can see that I don't have a green line there, but I think that's really important to keep remembering this trine between Pluto, Uranus, and sextile to the Pisces planets. It's very, very powerful. Um, and that is everything that is there. Yes. And so we come to the end of this particular class. If you're here in person, we can take a look at a few charts and see how it operates in your individual charts. Consulting skills for astrologers is now scheduled at Kepler College for beginning on January 10th. If you haven't taken that before, that is a great 10-week program. And I am getting ready for both NORWAC and UWAC with some of my talks that are brand new talks. And there'll be more classes that I start at both my Soul Path School in the new year and also at Kepler. I'm hoping to get the first class organized for Kepler for the spring term, which starts around March, I think. But it's a lot to do. Anyway, thank you for listening, and let me stop the share and start looking at charts.